Welcome. My name's Slater Cane, owner of Wild Cane Supply Company. This is my first podcast. I'm just coming on here to talk to you a little bit about the backstory of the company, what makes me excited, and what I love about owning this company. So a little bit about the backstory. It was middle of COVID, and I wasn't working that much. At the time I was working at a restaurant called Lure Fish House up in Westlake Village, California, and there wasn't a ton of scheduling going on, not many hours, and a lot of free time to say the least. And when I was at home, not much to do, I actually started making myself a leather belt just because I needed one and I wanted to make myself one. So I YouTubed how to make a leather belt and made one for myself and showed some people. And I actually started selling crates of them out of, like a little wooden crate. And I started selling them to my coworkers whenever I went in. There was only like 10 of us most shifts during COVID. They're selling like hotcakes. People were loving them. And when I started making them in batches, I don't know what part of me kind of made me do this, but when I finished making them, I would get like a little soldering iron and burn in wild cane on the back. I don't know what made me do it, but that's what I did. And it just kind of became a known thing to my coworkers and friends, and there was wild cane. So as time went on, like maybe a month or two, I started getting recommendations like what I should offer and do this, do that. And I've always been savvy in leathercraft, not super gnarly at it, but I knew how to make some stuff. So I made some belts, made some, like little leather toiletry bags, some duffel bags. Yeah, so I believe that's all that I had for leather goods, maybe some koozies. But eventually I started doing pop-up shops, and my first one was in Santa Paula, California. Before the pop-up market even started, I was selling like two, three, four, five things. And I was like, whoa, the market's not even started and I'm getting customers. That's pretty rad. Yeah, so that's kind of the little backstory. I've always wanted to do like, a clothing brand. In the back of my head, that's what I want to do. I would always wear a alpaca wool poncho, like super simple, super soft wool, great weight, not too heavy, not too light, makes for a great outer layer. I got nothing but compliments on this thing. I sourced them from Ecuador, like this little vendor out in Ecuador. People love them. Like they're super popular with surfers and just sitting around a campfire. It's a perfect wearable blanket. My manager at the time, he told me like you should start selling those things. And I'm like, you know what? You might be right. So I did. I bought a couple and sold a couple. In the meantime, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, this is starting to like do a little better than I thought. Maybe I should make a website. My girlfriend at the time, now fiance, she helped me build a super simple website on brand, and the company name was Wild Cane. So what happened was we built one. We were on vacation at the time. It was during Christmas break. We went up to Washington for like 2.5 weeks, just doing a big road trip during Christmas time. Throughout the time, she was working on it for me. I had no idea what I was doing. She knew what she was doing. She's done it a few times before that. What's cool, as she was building it, I was ordering like materials, screen printing supplies, ponchos, leather, like all the materials I need delivered to the house. So when we get back home, I got everything started to like, all right, we're going all in. When we get back, I'm going to start grinding down on some products, get some inventory built up, and when I launch the store online, I'll have everything made and ready to go, ready to ship out. So yeah, when we got home after a 2.5 week trip up to the Pacific Northwest, like I said, I started grinding down on some inventory. As soon as I got some built up, I think in February of 2021 is when I launched the website. I got several orders right away, just from some family members, close friends, people that knew that I was doing this project. And it just felt super rad, and I started doing more pop-up shops like around Ventura. As soon as I got some funds from the leather goods and maybe a couple ponchos, I bought my first round of t-shirts. At the time, my logo was this weird, almost compass looking logo. When I was back to when I was making the belts, I would just put like a little dot and a little line in each direction, like northwest, southeast, and it just looks cool. That's why I did it, especially on leather being burned in. That's why I did it. So that was my logo at the beginning. So my first graphic tees had that logo, Wild Cane, forged in the West, um, you know, made in the USA. Those things sold good. As soon as those sold, or enough sold, I got my next round of t-shirts. I think I got 2 t-shirts at once, 2 different designs, and one was the Wild Weekend tee, I believe, and one that I don't offer anymore. It was a black tee. Those things sold like crazy, and then I eventually left Lurefish House. Backstory a little bit. I went to go work for another company out of Ventura, just to get to know the ropes of the business, the industry, the apparel industry, as that is, and learned a lot from there. I worked in their shipping warehouse. Learned a lot from the owner, just kind of how they run their business. It was very eye opening and very informative for me as a business owner to get to know the ropes. As time went on, I started getting more tees, more goods. Still did the leather craft, and I started leaning a little bit back on the belts. I didn't do so many belts anymore and started focusing more on the apparel. First round of beanies, which did great. That was kind of like a turnaround for me. My shirts did good, but as soon as I got the beanies, my company just started like doing a lot better. And they're perfect small little gifts. People love them. They're made in the U.S. by the oldest headwear knitting mill in the U.S., which is actually pretty cool. They're based in New Jersey. And then eventually, back in my head, I'm like, all right, I need to start making my own custom designs, custom apparel, like unique to my brand. Like what I design needs to be created. And so I went to the drawing board, drew up my first design of a jacket. I reached out to my mom's best friend growing up. She was a clothing manufacturer for Fox Racing. And she helped me throughout the whole process of getting started with custom apparel. She needed a tech pack, which was like the initial drawing and design of measurements and all that stuff, and the materials, and all that stuff. So I finally drew one up, and after literally a year, I didn't speak to Jan. That's her name, my mom's best friend. I did not speak to her until I finally had the design locked down and the materials locked down, and that's when we went into it. Like, hey, I got the design figured out. What's the next step from here? Sent her the fabrics, sent her everything she needed, and she created the first sample, and I was just blown away. I'm like, wow, this is actually happening. I'm actually making my own apparel. It was a super rad feeling. As soon as I got the jacket, that day I went into my shift and I was working the dairy box, and I tested out the jacket, and it's like 30 degrees in that dairy box, just stocking milk and stuff like that. So I was not getting cold. I was stoked. This jacket's gonna be killer. I sent her back the feedback, what I had on the jacket, and soon enough, I got I think it was 25 jackets I got made. Super small batch for being a small company. That's all I can pretty much afford at this time. Yeah, I got my first batch just in time for the holidays. They sold super well. I still am holding on to a couple though. Yeah, they did great. I'm super stoked on those. I gotta start thinking about bringing them back. They were my first custom design. And actually, let me back up a little bit. So I told you before that I had that compass looking logo. I'm like, okay, this doesn't mean anything. Can I make it mean something? I couldn't come up with an idea of what it could mean. I'm like, a brand logo needs to mean something about the brand itself. Like, what is the meaning behind it? And it was just some doodle that I did at the time. So I'm like, I gotta change it up. And I thought for like a couple days or so, and I just started doodling on my iPad, and I think of an arrowhead. I'm like, that would be pretty cool. Let's see what I can make with that. And eventually, I got that logo right there, that's on my truck. And I've kept it ever since, and it's had nothing but compliments, so I'm stoked. That's been my logo now for 2 years, 2.5 years of my company, and I've been in business for 3.5. Now, where I'm at, Jan made a run of shorts, thermals, flannels, sweatpants. That was my collection for fall 2023, and the flannels sold so well. That was probably my best selling item that I've ever designed myself and had made. They're just super timeless, classic style, classy, and super super soft, durable, and just ready to be abused and aged and handed down to the next generation. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm really all about. So that leads me to my next topic. What gets me excited about running this company is designing new goods, testing out new goods, and going out into the wild and just testing the provisions that I make and design. Give some to my friends to try out, and they absolutely love the products and super supportive of my brand. That stuff just gets me excited. The content creating, the actually going out into the wild and using the goods, that stuff just gets me super excited. And best thing about owning my own company is the creative freedom and being able to work for yourself and eventually make that your full-time gig. Uh, that is what I'm striving for. I do have a full-time job right now at Trader Joe's, but on the side, when I'm not there, I'm constantly working and designing and just thinking of new ideas for my company. And I have such great support from my friends, family, and it just keeps me motivated to keep going. It's a super awesome feeling, and I couldn't be more stoked with the way things are going right now. So, to those supporters out there, you know who you are. Thank you so much, and I can't wait for what comes next in my company, and can't wait to hear your feedback. And yeah, just thank you so much. I'm super grateful for all the support that I've gotten in the past 3.5 years. So that just about wraps up my first podcast about owning my own company and the backstory. And yeah, I can't wait for the next one. See you later, guys.